Hey, what's up guys? Emo Cat Dad here, hanging out with you, bringing you yet another edition of Emo Cat Dad Listens. If you're new here, what I do is every day of 2024, I vow to check out a new band or artist. You guys have been so kind giving me suggestions of bands or artists to check out, so please continue. Hit the comments below, give me bands or artists I need to be checking out this year. I got a good list going, but the list is in my mind, so I need you guys to keep coming. And the more I hear a band suggested, the higher up of the list it gets, and I will definitely be able to get to it. That's the case with today's band, Breaking Benjamin. This has been suggested to me a couple times already, so I knew I had to get it done. So what better day than now? So what do I know about Breaking Benjamin? Of course I know Breaking Benjamin to a degree. I'm Emo Cat Dad after all. I grew up in the early 2000s, mostly listening to pop punk, but of course I got into the emo stuff when it hit in 2005-ish, you know, when My Chem, Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, and Paramore a little later on blew up. So, of course I know Breaking Benjamin and The Diary of Jane. I liked it enough. That was more of a radio rock song, so it wasn't directly in my wheelhouse, but being from Canada, I heard a lot of 3 Days Grace, so I dug 3 Days Grace quite a bit, especially the first 2, maybe 3 albums. I don't really remember at this point. I think it was 3. So I just kind of put them in that box, and I was like, oh, this is good, but, you know, I like 3 Days Grace better, so I'm just going to listen to that more. That's the way it goes sometimes. I don't think I've ever heard any other Breaking Benjamin songs, and this band's like pretty huge, and you guys have suggested enough times, so it's like, let's dive into a little bit more than The Diary of Jane. Starting off with their first album, We Are Not Alone, I checked out the song So Cold. So this is fitting, since it's winter here, so Cold fits the vibe quite well. I will say what doesn't fit the vibe is the long intro. If you've listened to me before, you know, long intros, long outros, long interludes. I don't like them, especially if they do the same thing. This song took 37 seconds of the light music before the music kicked up, and I was like, okay, the music kicked up, it's going to come up now. No. It took over a minute total before the lyrics actually kicked in. Had it have been down to, you know, 15 seconds before the heavier music kicked in, and even if it went 37 seconds before the lyrics, I probably would have been okay with it, because at least it gave me 2 different sounds. But a whole minute, no bueno. That being said, the chorus on this track is super catchy, very surprising for a debut, so clearly this band knew exactly what they were doing. There was a solo towards the end of the song. It seemed a little out of place, like they were just like, oh, we need to add a solo in here. I don't think it needed it. It was a good solo overall, it just, I don't know, it kind of ruined the flow of the song for me. The repetitive outro, not a good sign. A bad intro and a bad outro. Yikes. But overall, if we take out those two, the middle portion of the song was really good, and basically what I expected to get from the band. So next was the album Phobia, which of course had Diary of Jane on it, but since I've heard that, it doesn't really fit the theme of what I'm trying to do here, so they still have a couple other songs that have a ton of streams off this, so I checked out the song Breath. Alright, so this is pretty much same vibe as So Cold, minus the long intro and outro, which I do appreciate, of course. I dug the little acoustic kind of transition in the chorus the first time anyways. It kind of went to a little soft line, and then it picked up again. Really love those little moments in music, and Breaking Benjamin delivered one here. And we got a little scream, which was nice to see. I don't think there was any screaming on So Cold. If there was, it was very faint and I missed it. But we get a little bit of screaming here, which given the genre, I kind of expected. Alright, next up, I checked out I Will Not Bow from their third album, Dear Agony, released in 2009. So I enjoyed the little scream on the last track. This one actually starts with a little screaming part, so still thumbs up. This song flows extremely well, and I really enjoy the instrumentation throughout. I think this may be Breaking Benjamin's most complete song that I've heard. All right, and then since Dear Agony, they've released a couple albums. The most recent being 2020, but that just seems to be reworkings of old songs. So I went back to their 2018 album, Ember, and I checked out the song Blood. All right, so this song also flows extremely well, and the musicianship is super tight on this. They've definitely improved in that regard. And you know what? Honestly, vocally as well, I really enjoyed everything about the song flowing wise. I will say lyrically, I don't believe it's their strongest. In fact, it might be their worst. All right, so those are the 4 Breaking Benjamin songs I checked out. Let's get to ranking them. At number 1, I Will Not Bow. No doubt in my mind that this was going to be number 1. Most complete song, really had nothing bad to say about it at all. If you haven't checked out Breaking Benjamin, but you dig bands like 3 Days Grace or the emo 30 Seconds to Mars stuff, you know, from that one album that everyone loves, or even some of the mainstream AFI, I really think you're going to dig this song. At number 2, I'm going Breathe. This one just fell a step below I Will Not Bow. This is also where they started doing little screams, so I was happy to see that introduced in their music, and it continued on the next 2 songs as well. This is where it gets a little close at 3. I think I'm going to put So Cold. I really didn't like the intro or the outro, but if we're taking the main crux of the song or between those 2 elements, I think I take that over the entirety of Blood, which of course ends up at number 4. All right, so that was my ranking of the songs. My overall thoughts on Breaking Benjamin are they're pretty much exactly what I expected, which is probably a good thing because I knew I would enjoy that style. And I didn't hate any of these songs, but I was hoping to be surprised. I enjoy when bands give me something I'm not expecting, and Breaking Benjamin basically played the playbook I expected them to. But again, not that that's a bad thing because all these tracks were really good. All right, guys, that does it for me. Thank you so much for hanging out and checking out this edition of Emo Cat Dad Listens. I hope you will come back and check more out. Please hit the comments below and let me know your thoughts on Breaking Benjamin. What do you dig about the band, if anything? Are there songs that I missed out on that you think I'd really enjoy based on these videos that I've done in the past, or just this one specifically? Please let me know that as well. Be a part of the conversation. Give me bands or artists to check out. I still got 300 more to go, so I'm counting on you guys to come up clutch and give me those bands to check out. But most importantly, I hope you join me tomorrow, and the best way of doing that is to simply cut my wrists and hit subscribe. Emo Cat Dad signing off for now, but until next time, I want to hear you sad.